The 15 or 20 that we sold already, we rehabbed them, then we looked at what did we spend to rehab them, marked it up about 15%, and sold it at that price. Now, I'll tell you, Brother Calvin is an example of that. Brother Calvin who lives out there, who works with us, who was renting and paying $1,500 a month rent. And I had a hard time convincing him. And our people, it's like that. It's part of a psychological piece. To own this home and you get more value than you would this renting thing. And it was difficult. So I got to his wife, started dealing with her, and she understood the numbers. So finally we pressed, we picked the house, we rehabbed the house, and I sold that house to him for $35,000. He had, this is about, now that house, he's had it now, about 8 years ago now, right? I sold to him for $35,000, that's what we rehabbed. I replumbed the new plumbing, new electrical, the whole 9 yards. And set up the bank, because we was tied Mr. Chambers, our realtor out there, with these bank loans and stuff, because of the area it's in, you had all these different sensitives. Do I have to make the down payment? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? So we utilize all that stuff. And the equity in the house, once we finally closed on it, the insurance, the mortgage, and what have you, cost them less than $500. And he was paying $1,200 in renting, all right? And the equity, he started out, because of the work we were doing in upgrading these houses in these areas, your appraisal went up. So he had $35,000 in equity in the house as soon as he bought it. And that was the whole idea about trying to get here, and you're going to have equity to start businesses and do other things. And sure enough, he's got the laundromat now. He had a program for people with difficulty before the COVID came in, the young folks and middle-aged people with difficulty, because his wife was into that industry. They opened that up first. Then they got the laundromat now open. And an unfortunate situation happened to where he had his son-in-law and daughter-in-law staying in the house with him, and they set the house on fire by accident. So now they took all that down and rebuilt him a whole brand new house up and what have you, and he's got no mortgage because the insurance paid it off. That's just it. So the numbers will reflect based on our rehab, but our intent is to always sell it to you to where you go into the property having equity to start a business. That's my whole program. That's been my program in New York. With all the housing we've done there, that's been the same program. This is not about greed. This is about us. Let's establish communities and what have you, and give our folks this attraction. So that's what that is. Yes, ma'am.
Any of the houses 1 floor level?
No, we don't have any what you call slab on grade anymore. We had a few like that. We don't have any more of those. Yeah, all the ones we have now are well, you got to go up, and then the rear door to the property going down quite naturally to the basement. But no ground level, what you would call slab on grade, where you walk straight in like that. We don't have that. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get him first. No, come on. You got it. Come on. Why must I?
Sometimes people ask me what message I go to. Sometimes I'm mistaken to say not with your boss, even though I've been yanked from. But I just want to how's the relationship between you, your community, and then Inkster with the city and the people there? Is it good?
Well, it is now. It has gotten much better than when we first got there. Again, as the Imam has said and his father said, Detroit and Chicago are some of the most hardest people that you could ever run into in terms of working with our people. And I found that to be absolute. I trusted them, but my experience has been that there's a mindset, there's something there. I can't say, put my hand on what it is. No, it's out of slavery, but there's a serious mindset there that criminality and how you would treat each other as compared to what you would do with a white man, I have to put it that kind of language, totally different, So we caught problems. We helped a lot of folks there. When we got there, the state had took the place over. The state had control. Shut down all the public school systems in the town. They were eating the town up for their purposes. And that was happening in most of the black townships, I put it that way, that language, in Michigan at that time, including Flint, Michigan. But when that Flint crisis hit, that changed the scenario to where they ran out of all of those controls that they had over all those black towns. They were taking them over. But Inkster is in a pivotal position. It's in a hop, maybe a skip of the airport. So there's a whole 100-something year plan for moving in, and Inkster was right in the middle of a major transfer hub coming from Chicago, major transfer hub right there in Inkster, shooting to the airport, and then from that point, railroad and such ways to go all the way to Chicago. So Inkster was one town that was designated, that's why they shut the school system down and everything else. Once you shut the school system down, what kind of young families you going to bring in there with children? They got no school system. So this was actually their plan. They were doing it. Our folks just allowed it, but we got there. God put us there because, and us coming there and understanding these things, we began to have meetings and organizing the people of Inkster. And when the government had to pull out, we got the first elected mayor and councilman of people in place so they could have authority. And we did that. We have documents, meeting them and everything else. And the other thing was that at that point, the oldest woman on the planet, Miss Geraldine Talley, she was the oldest woman on the planet. She was 116 years old. And the town wouldn't do anything to recognize her. President Obama had recognized her. But nobody would say she was the oldest woman on the planet, verified. And we went and put a big shebang on for her on our school property under a huge tent. And all of those people who wanted to be lawyers, this and that, everybody showed up. Nobody gave a dime. You know how Negroes do. They have to edit Negro here. I mean, I've said it too many times. But, but there's a fact. You know how they do it. They all showed up and what have you. Then we got them in office. Once we got them in office, what happened, when the government took it over, they gave all the contracts to their homeboys and homegirls. So when they pulled out, they left those people in place with all these contracts. And the contracts was to abuse the people in Inkster. Overtax them, summonses, anything they can think of, because that's how they was making their money. All right? Lawyers and the such, everybody was still there. And so when we worked with the new administrator, we tell them, listen, you got to move to quickly change ordinances, do certain things to get these folks out of here. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to function. Instead, the first group that we got in there, they fell victim to the influences that those people had and turned on us. But Allah's God, I didn't get there, and I said, I didn't tell the story how I got there. I didn't get there because I wanted to be there. I never heard of this town before. I knew nothing about no Inkster. On top of that, Malcolm lived there. That's where his brother lived when he came out of prison. The house is there. The building where we're going to have the commemorative Savior's Day is where he had an office at, upstairs, in our banquet hall. I had no knowledge about these things. I know Malcolm, Michigan, but I had no idea when we was that this is what was happening. I'm over Master Imam Shabazz. I'm over the Mars of the Imam, named after him because of his work. And here I wound up in a place here, and the first thing we do, Imam Fadri and myself, when we got there, said, where's this place? Where we at, man? We're too far from Detroit. We don't want to what's name. And we said that because when I went in and looked at these schools that one of the members' uncle asked me to do, they drove us from the city of Detroit, now on the highway, they just kept riding us around. So when we was headed for Inkster, I told, man, turn around because it's too far out. We're too far from the city because I didn't know where we was at. And when we got there, cold as Michigan is, cold and dreary and everything else, and we got to the school door, got out the car, and the sun just opened up, the sky just opened up, just boom, you couldn't get away from it. That this is, even the guy who was representing the owners, taking us around, he turned around and said, whoa, man. He ain't almost nothing. He said, man, that sun, where did that come from? Y'all, he said something like, y'all lit up? Like that, right? So now, I know science, I know that much, and I said to me, I said, oh God, no. And then I said, where are we? And he had a tablet, and the first thing that came up, Malcolm X's house to be torn down. That's the first I knew that Malcolm X was in the house there. with his brother. And then when we left there, within 5 minutes, we was on 94. So then I said, whoa, wait a minute here. 94? Wait a minute. Look, I said, telegraph. That's the airport right here. Then my mind started clicking what Law was doing. I said, man, we're at the airport. You wait a minute here, man. We can, this ain't far from Detroit. We're right here. And the rest became history. A lot of stories behind how we bought it. It was $1.6 million asking for it, and we didn't pay nowhere near that. But some work and things that I have been doing in New York, housing, as you know, new construction, everything I've been doing, there was some money that I didn't receive, development money, that I've been trying to get for a couple of years, and didn't get it. And as God would have it, we had to close on this thing, because the school by itself, I knew we would not be able to do that. Because even if we had a full school with all children and everything else, and everybody paid the tuition, tuition will not run a school. So I knew that we need businesses to support this. But we didn't have it at the time, and I know we couldn't take no mortgage because I had no money to pay the mortgage. And God favored us again. That let us clearly know He wanted us to be here. That money came through that I thought was lost, that I've been trying to get for 2 years. I forgot all about it. Came through just before we had to close on this thing. About a month before we had to close on this thing, that money came through, allowed me to pay cash and buy it outright. That's big. That's the fact. So I know that we're supposed to be here, not by Brother Pasha, but like I said, when we went to Detroit, like the rest of you, airport, rent a car, 94, 10, Cobo Hall. All over with, 10, 94, airport out. Because Michigan, Detroit has a history. You know, the history ran out of Elijah Muhammad out of there. Yeah, and he spoke on it. And Imam even said it. Imam tried, you know, he was going back and forth there to Detroit, back and forth, trying to save it. You know, because he had relatives in Dallas there. He was going back and forth, trying to Western. But he said, these are some hard people. They've been messed up. You know, with all these auto jobs and everything, getting the big pay and everything else, but didn't see that it's going to come to an end, and what you're going to do then? And the skill as a factory worker, where else are you going to use that at? And everybody out there talk about the auto industry. Lawyers corrupt. Every lawyer we got out there was corrupt. So it ain't just the average person. The lawyers, everybody looking to rip you off. And we got ripped off a few times. Yeah, by our own people. You know, so we learned the lesson. You know, but alhamdulillah, it's ours now. You got the convention, you got all these things that we have there. You need to be showing up. Come see for yourself. All right? And this is ours. It ain't but Pasha. I see out there tomorrow, man. It's got to keep going on.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So the young folks, you got to get them there. You know, and when they come to the camp, they don't want to go home. Those who are at the camp, they tell you. Come out of these cities and what have you. Have them up there for 2 weeks, just start crying at the end. I want to go back home with this. You know, because of the daggone air. I have folks who had sinus problems, but come up on that property because we still got all the trees and everything else, and all of a sudden after 2 days they don't have the sinus thing. What's the name? Because that pure oxygen up there. You know, we're in a higher elevation there. Just don't seem like it, but we're in a high elevation. And I mean, this is what it is. The Imam told them at the meeting that I brought the Imam back there with, and told them at the end. He said, "Well, you can do anything you want to do back up in here." He said, "But I'm with Imam Pasha, and y'all need to come back here and help." Ain't none of those imams ever came back who were there at that meeting. Nobody ever came back. All of them was there. Ain't none of them came back. He told them, it's on tape. They looked at when he first said, "Oh man, I don't know where we out here in no man's land," and you know, he started talking like that. I said, "Boss, you know these folks, don't start talking like that." You understand? And he came back and said, "Well, no, as long as he's going to do some good, and I know he is, and I'm with him. I'm with Imam Pasha. And we need to come back here and make sure y'all come back here and you'll help build this out, because we can build anything we want to build here that's good." That's what he said to him. And a very spiritual, almost ascension took place at that place where the Imam was sitting there with the Ramadan session, Fajr, and the sun started to come up. And where he was sitting at in the Musalla, where that glass was, people couldn't hear what he was even saying no more, because the way the sun came on him and lit him up, as though he was surrounded by angels or something. And it wasn't nothing we made up in our mind. All of us seen it. And he was into the Quran. He was, what's it? And everybody seen it. And none of them ever came back to lift a hand to help at all. So, you know, that's all right. It wasn't meant to be for them, as far as I'm concerned. I don't want them back there, I'll tell you that. Yeah, no, man. Then you had the scientists talking about their natural path, and they sell you go and buy Bear aspirins and take it out of that box and put another one and sell it to you for $10. Talking about their natural path, and they got a degree in whatever. Hustling. And you go for it. Oh, yes, he's a Dr. So-and-so. Yeah, I sent them one day to Harlem Hospital. I said, okay, they want me there. I said, you go. You said you're a doctor. You go. Harlem Hospital called me back up and said, listen, man, Imam, you know, we know you, so forth and so on, but we can't find no degree of nothing on this man. He said the place he gave us is somebody's house in the basement. And then the brother had nerve to come back to me crying about it. Oh man, that's what they asked you to do, is give them proof. What do you want me to do? I said, you said you was this, I sent you there. Yeah, yeah, man. Getting people credit cards, doing cook bars to get credit cards. I had to get rid of him. And he's truthful though, I gotta say he's truthful for what he did. Because I told him, listen man, I can't have that, man. You can't come here and be giving cook bars and design them so that in the back you got the credit card machine to sell these people, you know, who are sick with, you know, kind of promises. None of that natural path stuff is going to work unless you've been getting it since your mother's breast had it in it. If you ain't been on this stuff as a natural stuff before, the poison they've been giving us all these years, time that stuff will kick in, you know, it's what it is. So I told you can't do that, man. And he just found out, told me, he said, listen, man, I'm not going to sacrifice for these people like you will. I said, okay, well, you got to go, because I will sacrifice for them. And I threw him out. I didn't say his name because half of y'all know him. Still hustling. And he ain't by himself, a bunch of them. There's some things you do, I mean, I got me some nice B12 I have, which is great. We got from the vitamin shop, cost me about $25. If I went to him, it cost me $125. I mean, in the name of Islam, they do that. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You know? So, I mean, you can't be a coward that won't call a criminal criminal. I'll call him criminal. He'll come say it to me. He know better than that. Because, you know, I'm a plumber. I didn't come here to be no chump for nobody. And they know I'm good with my hands too. I study with some of the best. Well, you know, you've been around. I don't play that kind of stuff. And it ain't because I study and know these things. It's because Allah is God. And if you come at me wrong, I'm coming with that. That's more powerful. Any jiu-jitsu, any kung fu, any Tai Chi that I know, it don't mean nothing. But when I say Allah, whoa, buddy.
That's right.
That's the power. You know, because a couple times they took Tai Chi, my knee ain't been straight yet. I'm still trying to fix it, man. Tai Chi works sometimes, man. Anyway, okay.
We have a beautiful skating rink down the street from the school. Can you give us an update on that?
The skating rink is doing much, much better. Someone asked me earlier, I think, about it. It's doing much, much more better. You got to come see the skating rink. I mean, just to go in there. We have the history all on the wall of great leaders and the male and female and what have you. We even got a collection of a lot of the great people from Inkster. The first major hit that Motown had, was it Marvelettes? Marvelettes. They were right there from Inkster. Several major basketball and football players from Inkster. A couple of lawyers. The first person to get this TV thing now, the cable network TV stuff, was from Inkster. Started in Inkster. I forget his name, the uncle of the mayor, current mayor, what have you. So we got a lot of that, but then we got Colin Powers, David Walker Peel, Frederick Douglass. I mean, we got we got them all on the wall in the skating rink. So when the students, because school comes, once some of the teachers and a couple of state senators, they came, they seen that. They said, well, wait a minute here. No wonder why they put a bad word on the skating rink, because we have all of this up there. And you know, we got the Imam, the Honorable Muhammad, Sister Claire Muhammad, and Muhammad Ali. hanging up over the concession stand, you know. So,